As the trade deadline approaches, as Mariners fans, we have to get ready to face the reality that the Mariners might be sellers at the August 2nd trade deadline for MLB. Of course, most of our trade videos have been relatively positive with the Mariners as buyers making a run at the 2023 playoffs, but if they fumble it, if they aren't very good over the next couple of weeks, I think it's time we talk about what the Mariners would do if they're sellers. First and foremost, you have to look at guys on expiring contracts, and that is Teoscar Hernandez and Kolten Wong. Those are the two big ones. And in my opinion, I don't think you sell off either of those guys. I'll tell you a little bit more about Teoscar Hernandez at the end of this video, but as for Kolten Wong, I mean, it's pretty clear. He doesn't have any value for you in a trade. Nobody's going to take Kolten Wong right now because he hasn't been anything. Why would a team like the Oakland Athletics take Kolten Wong? They have no reason to. So Kolten Wong is a lost cause. At this point, you'd be lucky to get anything for him. I love the guy. I think he's a great person. I think he's been a great player throughout his career. It's just not working out here. In my opinion, if you're sellers, you're also not going to be selling guys that you have under contract for years to come. You're not going to sell off the Ty Francis or the Eugenio Suarez's or the Brian Woos or the Bryce Millers, etc., if you're a seller. It just does not make sense to me. That leaves one spot on this roster that kind of makes sense to sell from, and that is the bullpen. I know that bullpens aren't all that exciting to talk about, but the Mariners might be able to get some good players in return for some bullpen. But to discuss trading a reliever, first we need to take a look at MLB and where teams rank in terms of their bullpen production. This is a list of how teams are ranked in MLB based on their ERA and their bullpen. Of course, the Oakland Athletics are the worst team in baseball in terms of ERA for their bullpen. But when you look at their bullpen, a team that plans on being a contender and a team that is currently just a few games out of first place, Los Angeles Dodgers have the 5th worst bullpen ERA in all of baseball. Looking a little bit further down the list, the Texas Rangers also have a terrible bullpen. The Chicago Cubs plan on being contenders. The Mets, well, you know. The Diamondbacks are leading the NL West. And then there's the Phillies, who still plan on being contenders in the NL East as well. So in my opinion, the top 5 teams would be the Dodgers, the Phillies, the Rangers, the Diamondbacks, and the Cubs. Those 5 teams make a lot of sense for the Mariners to trade some of their bullpen pieces too. And the nice part about the Mariners is they know how to churn out effective bullpen pieces from basically nothing. Gabe Speier, Justin Topa, Paul Sewald, all of these guys, where the heck did they come from? And conveniently, those are the 3 that I'm going to talk about here at the Mariners trading, and the Paul Sewald trade is very interesting to me. First, let's start with Gabe Speier and Justin Topa. Justin Topa won't be a free agent until 2027. The Mariners have him under control through 2026. With Gabe Speier, he is under control through the 2024 season. So both of these guys, you have multiple years left of control for them. And if you're the Mariners, why not try and sell high on a Gabe Speier or a Justin Topa? There's a decent chance that their value will never be higher than it is right now, and teams are willing to pay the premium, especially in a playoff race, to get a stable reliever that they can throw into the back end of their bullpen. I'm not saying that Gabe Speier and Justin Topa are going to net you like the next Mike Trout, but they might be able to net you some very interesting pieces that you could use in the future. You're probably going to have to get maybe MLB adjacent players, guys that aren't quite here yet, or maybe roster crunch guys on those teams. I'm not going to go into any specific players, but I think that, I don't know, a 4A guy would make a lot of sense from the Dodgers, for example. The big one here, of course, is Paul Sewald, the Mariners closer who has been so good since he came over to Seattle. Sewald is under contract through 2024 and has quickly become one of the best relievers in all of baseball. For the Mariners, it would make a lot of sense that if they don't plan on being able to extend Paul Sewald, especially after he turns 34 years old, to trade Paul Sewald to get a massive package. Let's put it this way, when the Cubs traded for Aroldis Chapman for just a half year of his services, the Yankees got some of the best players on their team, including Gleyber Torres is part of that deal, their second baseman, and Billy McKinney, a guy that was terrorizing the Mariners. Now, obviously, Chapman was on a whole nother level, but why couldn't the Mariners get one guy like that? Whereas, of course, the Yankees got 4 or 5 guys in that trade. Why couldn't the Mariners get one relatively decent MLB adjacent prospect in return for Paul Sewald? I love Paul Sewald, don't get me wrong. I think that he is great for this club. He's great in that bullpen. But if the Mariners can get a player like this in return for Paul Sewald, I am all in on trading Paul for somebody like that. I don't have anybody in mind you. And this is still a very far-fetched idea. Who knows if it would ever happen? But I think the idea is there that if the Mariners do plan on being sellers, selling out of their bullpen is the thing that makes the most sense. And that brings up Teoscar Hernandez, a guy who's a free agent at the end of this year. I think the best thing the Mariners could do is keep him around until the end of the season and throw a qualifying offer on him. But is it possible the Mariners could also extend him? And especially if Teo becomes an all-star? Joe made a video about that yesterday. Go ahead and check that one out now. I appreciate you guys watching this one, and go Mariners.